call the September 1st, 2015 Will County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. All please rise. Ms. Bobby Peterson from our commission will lead us in pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mike Carruthers, Joliet Township.
Here.
Scott Lager, Homer Township.
Here.
Kim Mitchell, Shanahan Township. Here. Barbara Peterson, Washington Township is here. Hugh Stiffen, Frankfort Township.
Here.
Thomas White, Troy Township.
Here.
Chairman Len Malone, Manhattan Township.
Here. In your packet, you had the meeting minutes from August 4th, 2015. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions?
Move to accept the minutes as stand.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This time, everyone is planning on giving testimony tonight. I'm going to swear you in mass. So anyone that plans on giving testimony, please raise your right hand, and after I swear you in, say I do. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. I do. Thank you. This time we ask you to turn off all your cell phones. Also at this time, I think I'd like to take a moment of silence for the slain officer and his family that happened today. Okay. First case on the agenda, case 6255-V. The applicants are Richard and Beverly Shue. We have a request for a variance. Natalie from our staff will open up this case.
Thank you, Chairman Malone. Good evening, Commission members. Zoning case 6255 takes place in Frankfort Township. The applicant is requesting a variance for front yard setback from 47 feet to 28 feet. The purpose of this request is to allow for the construction of a detached garage. Displayed is an aerial view. The property is generally located south of Route 30 on River Road. Displayed is an aerial view with the floodplain layer visible. The property is located in a Zone AE floodplain, which contains floodway. Photos of the subject property are now displayed. The property contains a single-family residence and a creek in the rear yard. Photo 1 is the subject property. 2 is where the proposed detached garage will be constructed, and photo 3 is the surrounding area along River Road. A site plan for the proposed garage is now displayed. The applicant participated in several meetings with land use staff to determine a placement for the proposed garage that would comply with the Will County Water Resource Ordinance. It was determined that the placement of the garage in the front yard, 28 feet from the right-of-way, was the most logical placement due to the floodplain and floodway located on the subject property. A zoning map is displayed. The property is zoned R2 and is located in an R2 neighborhood surrounded by property incorporated with the Village of Frankfort. Staff recommends approval of the variance for front yard setback from 47 feet to 28 feet. That concludes staff's analysis.
Natalie, is this in Lincoln Estates?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions of staff? Thank you. Before I call the applicant on, are there any objectors or concerned citizens regarding this case? Is the applicant here tonight? Do any of the commissioners have any questions to ask of the applicant? Okay. The applicant, you can come down if you'd like, if you want to talk about your case. If you don't, you can do either thing.
I don't know what there's to say.
Okay, that's fine. On case 6255-V, I'd like to entertain a motion for the requested variance.
Mr. Chairman, on 6255-V, I move for approval of a variance for front yard setback from 47 feet to 28 feet.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. We do, I believe we have some paperwork?
Yes.
We have some paperwork for you? That was too hard, was it?
This is your second ordinance, and when you come in for your permit, just bring that. That'll suffice. That's fine, yeah, whatever you're going on issue.
Next case on the agenda,
No,
case
no.
6258-V. We have a request for a variance. The applicants are Patrick and Deanna Peterson. Kimberly from our staff will open up this case. Kimberly's doing double duty tonight, huh?
Yeah. Hi, good evening. Zoning case 6258-V takes place in Wesley Township. The applicant would like to request a variance for maximum accessory from 3,000 square feet to 5,928.06 square feet. The purpose is to propose a 3,600 square foot accessory pole building. The subject property is 4.66 acres in size. The general location is east of Old Chicago Road and to the south of Mantino Road, County Highway Route 8. The property owners were cited for violation 15LU00432 on June 2nd, 2015 for having inoperable vehicles parked on the property outside of an enclosed building, having more than a total of 5 vehicles parked on the property outside of an enclosed building, and having a commercial vehicle weighing more than 8,000 pounds parked on the property. The applicants removed a commercial vehicle from the property. The proposed pole building is intended to correct the violation and store their personal vehicles. The property is zoned E1. The surrounding properties to the east, west, and south are also E1, with A1 to the north. The site plan shown indicates where the proposed pole building will be located. Other accessory structures on the property include an attached garage, a silo, and an earth garage made out of flagstone with a dirt floor that also acts as a retaining wall. It is staff's professional opinion that the plight of the owner is not due to a unique circumstance. However, if granted, the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality. Staff recommends denial of variance for maximum accessory building area from 3,000 square feet to 5,928.06 square feet. That concludes staff analysis.
Kimberly, on the plan of survey, I see where there's drawn in where this proposed building would be placed, and it shows that it's 20 feet off the lot line. Is that, and that was at E1?
Yes.
Is that something that would need a variance if it was 20 feet off the lot line at E1?
The setback is 20 feet.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? Okay, thank you. This time, I'd like to call the applicant up. What I'd like you to do is go up to the podium, one at the podium at a time, and if both of you want to speak, then you can take your turn to speak, but please state your name for the records.
Patrick Peterson.
Yes. The applicant, or the staff is recommending, do you recommend denial on this?
Yes,
denial. Do you have anything to say about that, or do you have any other comments?
Well, the problem I have is the earth building that's there now, I can't store a vehicle in it because the water comes through the wall. It's holding the earth up around the building. That was the old foundation of the original house, I believe, from what I was told. And they put a roof on top of it. It makes a great shed, but I have nowhere to put any of my vehicles. I own Well, I have a 1954 antique pickup truck. I have a 1943. I have an old classic Mustang. I've got several cars. My son and I are into messing around with cars, and I work as many hours as that I work. When I get home, I'd like to have somewhere to work on something. And right now, I have nowhere to work on.
I think the issue is not as that you can't have a place to work on it, but it's the size of it is almost double what the ordinance allows. So staff would recommend denial on that particular request.
Well, I really have no building at all right now to do anything with, or store anything that I have.
Okay.
In my 5 vehicles, I have nowhere to put any cars. The enclosed garage is for a compact car.
And the building you're proposing, it needs to be that big for
Well, I don't
other
know.
vehicles that you have? Is that what you're saying?
I've got pictures in
So
the
you
back
can't
of all
have
the
a
vehicles.
smaller building, you couldn't have a
Oh.
3,000 square foot?
I like to have room. You know, I have an RV I'd like to put in there too. Selling my other house, I still have the garage over there, still got 2 cars in there. It's not like I have vehicles that are old either. I have a brand new pickup truck. I've got 3 brand new pickup trucks and my wife's car. The garage that's attached to the house, it's next to impossible to get in the garage in the wintertime because it's got such a slope to get inside of it.
Now, if this is 60 by 60, which is 3,600 square feet, and it comes up to 5,928, that means that you already have 2,300 square feet of accessory space already. What we're saying is you're double. They're requesting denial on it. This other building said it's no good anyways. Sometimes, I'm not sure if staff made any recommendations or just said to you that being that excessive over the limit is what they're saying that they want to deny.
I've explained that to them. I would go ahead and take the roof off of that building and just leave it as a retaining wall. But the problem is when they built the home, the fuse panel is inside that building. And they ran it into the garage. So now I got to make a service go from the pole to the house. Could I make a doorway over that little panel and leave this structure there now? And the silo, I can take the silo down and close the garage out.
How many acres are you on?
5. And where the garage is proposed, you can't even see it from the street.
Well, we always try to work with people on these issues, and sometimes what happens is when people come in with excessively the amount over, they always have an old building or 2 that they say that aren't any good. That's why they're building a new one. But typically, they would like to have a plan to say this is what we're going to do. But we just, for the comfort of the staff, to say we recommend denial because it doesn't seem like there's any other plan than to just say we're going to build up this 60 by 60 building, and then at that size. I mean, we're trying to be passionate on this request, but this is what comes in there, and this is what happens when people come in. And I mean, we're not advisors, but this is what people do. So, as it stands, if the staff is recommending denial, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get denied. Everybody's going to take a vote on it today. So, do you have anything else to say?
No,
All right, correct. All right. Please state your name for the record.
Deanna Peterson.
Yes.
The earth garage that's in there, I post pictures of like our vehicles in the packet and also of the earth garage so you guys can see how it is set into the ground. That's the earth back. So I just kind of want to lay that out there that everything is in the packet.
Okay.
So even though it's called a garage, it's really not functional?
It's not. It's dirt and gravel. I personally won't park my car in there. It's good for my lawnmower and going up into our house garage. I can never get up there with my car, and that's the only thing that'll fit in there. I mean, we own nice vehicles, and I mean, if you look outside at my car right now, it's full of tree sap. So that's, in this way we want to put, because we are in violation because of the vehicles. We do have a boat. We want to put it all inside, and there's no problems.
Do you have an attached garage to the house?
Yes, but that's when you have to go up the hill. I couldn't park in there. We were eventually thinking of closing it off because my mother eventually may be moving in with us because of her health, so we're thinking of closing that off.
Excuse me 1 minute. Kim, is this underground garage considered a garage?
It's labeled an earth garage on the Plata survey, but it is not a typical garage. It is from the previous structure. It is built from flagstone walls, and it has a dirt floor. It is holding up several feet of earth.
So if someone came in and said, hey, I want to build this building just like this, and they came to the building department, what would they probably say to them?
It's not something that you would build. You would say
The building
no.
department probably wouldn't allow it to be used as a building?
No, it's not a sound building.
Not a sound structure?
No, it's 1,500 square feet of space that they really can't use. They also have a silo that is not usable as well.
You know, the one time we need the building commissioner, he's not here.
Yes.
Really,
And the silo is from maybe original farm?
We don't know, we've
It was
just,
there when we bought the house.
yeah.
Pardon me?
It was there when we bought the house.
And it's like a,
There's no roof on it.
Okay,
Well,
before we
Fred,
switch over, we're going to speak from the
David
podium,
is-
we're going to have one person speaking.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, yeah.
We're wiping up at the podium now, we're not going to just have everybody speaking. So,
David.
David will speak in a minute. But go ahead now.
yeah, the silo is like made out of bricks. There's no top and it's all like grass and dirt in the middle. We left it up because honestly, it looks cool. It's kind of like a historic landmark, but we can't use it. It's just sitting next to this garage.
You don't have cows or cattle?
No, we don't have anything.
I don't think. I
No,
don't see any.
no, nothing.
It looks to me like the earth garage is the foundation from the old farmhouse, possibly, and the silo is, the silo, you know, a feeding structure
Right.
from the old barn that was probably adjacent to it, and obviously it wouldn't have any storage, no value like we've already discussed. And
So if you take that square footage out of it, that's 1,500 square feet. It's still at, you know, it's still in excess of the 3,000. You're at 4,428. Okay, so David? Pardon?
Whatever the value of the silo.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure about the silo, what size that
Well,
is.
I think it was like
14 foot
300 square feet
Okay.
or something.
What I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna have David from our staff is gonna ask, he can make a comment.
No, it was just a follow-up on Commissioner Mitchell's comment, is that I know we talked about garages, but the square footage that is being under consideration is the total accessory square footage, includes sheds, garages, attached garages, and things of that nature. So it's the total aggregate square footage.
It doesn't matter whether the building is something to be acceptable by the county to be built today or not?
You know, I don't know the conditions, I'm not going to comment on whether or not something be permitted, but under this particular staff report and the analysis and the information presented, it's considered accessory square footage.
Okay. All right. And what size would you say the silo is? What diameter?
I can answer that question, Chairman.
Yeah.
153.86 square feet.
Oh,
It
so
looks
it's
like
not that much.
14-foot diameter.
Yeah. Okay, so we're down to in around 4,000 square feet if you don't consider those, you know, if they're not considered building, but according to David, they are. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so.
No, okay, what I want to have you do is both of you can sit down there. If we have any objectors or concerned citizens, we'll give you a chance to respond.
Okay.
Are there any objectors or concerned citizens?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
These packets, yeah, that's you, yes.
We didn't get one down here for extra time.
Yeah, no, there, he gave us three, one for the chairman, one for this side, and one for that side. Here, or you keep it, one.
I got that.
That's it.
Okay. Please state your name for the records.
My name is Jim Bradley.
Yes.
My home site is 253 Alana Drive in Hillview Estates, which is diagonally 300 feet from the southwest corner of the backyard of the Petersons.
Okay.
I represent my own land. I also represent, as a homeowners association president, 14 residents of Hillview Estates, which is a subdivision on the south side of Antino Road, the nearest boundary of which is 900 feet due west of the Petersons' west boundary. So we're obviously interested in what's about
Okay.
that.
Do you have a pointer where we can maybe, you can point out where you're at?
pointer should work, it just doesn't.
The pointer's up there, it just gives an idea where your property is. The pointer, I think you push the button on it, or is it up there on the podium? Pointer's on the podium, sir?
It may not be-
Mr. Bradley,
I don't have a pointer to it. I don't know how to use it.
There you go. He's showing how to use it there.
There's a red and that's Peterson.
Here's Brad.
Thank you.
Top left is the laser button.
Because I'm really not good at this. I'll try. Okay, this is my home site right here. This is the Petersons. This is the 300 feet I was alluding to. This is the 900 feet. Here is
Can you speak into the microphone, because we can't hear you. I know,
I can't use
we're
the
asking a lot of you, but we're asking a lot.
3 lots to the left of the red bounded Peterson's lot is the end of the, well, is the beginning of, the 4th lot from the Peterson's west boundary, red line marked, is lot 16 of Hillview Estates. That would be 900 feet from the Peterson's west line.
Is that where you live?
No, that's the nearest single-family home in Hillview Estates subdivision.
Okay.
The diagonal line from
So you're
the
here.
southwest corner of the red bounded rectangle, angular down to say the E1 for references.
Yes. Are you where the E1 is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there a home there?
That's my home site. We're building the home. The Morton building is already up.
Okay, now is that a flag lot, or is there a road to that lot?
It is a road to the lot. You can see it there in the green. All approved by the Land Use Committee, the Land Use Department, and the Circuit Court, the consent decree.
Okay,
May I proceed?
continue.
Okay. The first thing I'd like to bring to your attention, I see a little mathematical discrepancy that may or may not be important. My burden of what I'm going to argue tonight is that the building is simply too large. But the discrepancy I see is in the variance petition, it states, and signed by both Petersons, that the variance for, this is their printing on the zoning request, variance for maximum accessory storage space from 3,000 square feet to 5,376. The agenda tonight, the second case, says they're seeking a variance for 5928.06 square feet.
Are you saying from the application into the agenda it's changed?
I'm saying the application is different than the agenda.
Okay.
But both, whether it's 4,400 square foot building that they're proposing or a 3,600 square foot building, I can't explain it except there's a
I'll ask our
discrepancy.
staff to see if they can.
Thank you.
Beth or Tim?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we continued the variance case from the August 4th agenda because there was a discrepancy, and we revised the staff report.
From the original application?
Yes,
Okay.
the adjuster did receive the revised
Okay.
report.
Okay, so what we have here is, she said that it was continued to this month from August because there was that discrepancy. But as far as that goes, whether it's 1 foot over or 9,000 foot over, we're going to be voted on whether we're going to allow it because it's over.
Okay, well, I understand what you're saying. The standard, obviously, 3,000 square feet. An average home in that area is anywhere between 2,000 and 2,500. It's an average single-family residential occupancy and footprint, not unlike the Petersons, which is a footprint of 1,500 square feet. We've delivered up there for your reference a copy of their survey, which appended their application for variance, and you can see that their house, by survey, measures a footprint of 1,500 square feet. They also have an attached 2-car garage, which they acknowledge, which is an extremely large 2-car garage, God bless them. It's 875 square feet. And I'm sure that, except maybe in the winter time when it's icy in those particular days, you can occupy it with 2 cars and then some. They also clearly have an existing accessory building, identified by the staff report as a 1,500 old storage building that even the Petersons acknowledge they use for storage.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
You said by the footprint shown on the survey that has a 1,500 square foot footprint.
The house.
Did you take, the house does, did you take into account that it's a 2-story house?
No, the footprint. The footprint on the ground, occupying space on the ground is 1,500. The second story is also 1,500.
Okay, so that you're making an argument about square footage of houses, so that's obviously has to play into that argument.
Well, it isn't. They didn't explain whether or not their pole barn is going to be a 2-story. They haven't explained how tall the building will be. They haven't specified how many overhead doors they might have. how wide the doors might be?
Well, that's why we have a building department, because the building department, if this gets approved, when they go to build a building, the building department, they're gonna have to come in there with plans, and they're gonna have to come in there and show them the design of the building, how many doors are in there, how many windows, how tall it is. All those get reviewed by the building department. That's why that's why we're not the Wild West. We're a county in Illinois, and the building department takes care of all those particular issues. So that's to protect the public.
Well, you have to be about why I didn't identify the second floor. I'm speaking only of footprints, as they are speaking of footprints on their pole building. They say it's 3,600. If you do the math and they're using 3,976, it's not 3,600. It's moving towards 4,000. 4,000 plus 875 in the two-car garage, plus 1,500 in the existing storage building. You're at, what, you're over 7. I mean, you're over 6 on the way to 7. The footprint of the house is only 1,500 square feet, which is not unusual for the footprint, whether it's single family 1-story or 2-story, in this case 3,000 per occupant. But the footprint, the use of the land, and the size of the buildings makes a difference. I submit to you that according to the variance standards, the buildings have to be compatible one to the other and to the neighborhood. You will not in that neighborhood find a footprint building 4,000 square feet for storing cars. And incidentally, Mr. Peterson was good enough to tell you he has a lot of vehicles, identified some of them by models. I counted about 9, and he trailed off. He says he made many other cars. Okay, it is indeed a hobby to repair cars, to work with them, to restore them, a residential use in an E1 district. I submit it's not. If it were simply storing your cars that you drive home at night, that would be a residential use. Residential use for E1 specifically prohibits the following uses. On page 7.5 of the zoning ordinance, the following uses in the E1 district are prohibited. Quote, motor vehicle repair, limited, motor vehicle repair general, vehicle storage, auto scrap and salvage in a completely enclosed building, storage warehouses, and last but not least, and specifically in this case, on page 7-6, storage yard outdoor. Now he's already using his backyard as a storage yard for multiple vehicles. He wants to put them inside. That is a warehouse.
Okay, now the ironic thing about that is, those are very good points, but just so you're aware of it, that all of us members on this commission have at least been on this commission for 5 years, and every one of those cases has come before us. So we're aware of what can and what cannot be. We can't quote the law by verbatim, but we've seen all that come before. So what your basic point is that the intended use is not what there's another intended use.
I'm not suggesting that that's the truth. I'm suggesting it is implied in some of these. When you have a car and they need service, especially the older ones, you're going to, as the gentleman said, he wanted to work on it. Well, you can't really use your backyard as a mechanic's shop. You can't do it. The ordinance says you can't do it. That aside, that's for you to decide whether that's proper under the zoning ordinance today. Because the zoning variants say, the first paragraph, this commission should not grant a variance that allows a use otherwise prohibited in that zoning district. And that zoning district here is the E1, and I just read to you what was prohibited. On the subject of what's too big and too little for the Petersons, I've submitted, and you each have 3 copies up there, one on each side of the dais, and one for the chairman. I've given you a little draft of what an outbuilding could look like, and still meet the 1,500 square foot remaining requirement and stay within the 3,000 limit in an E1 district for accessory buildings. In this case, you can have one building that's 3,000, or you can have 2 accessory buildings totaling 3,000. If you look at this, I've drawn a building with 5 overhead doors. I've got space for a car that is 18 feet long and 7 feet wide. And I know that's a bigger car than normal today because I happen to have one antique car, a 66 Pontiac Bonneville, that is 18.5 feet long and 7 feet wide. Today, you won't find those cars on the road. So I've drawn in 6 basic 66 Pontiac Bonnevilles. It's 1,485 square feet. He would be within the limits of what he's entitled to do. He doesn't need a variance. He can put 6 cars in a building that is 45 by 33.
Well, we can make all the
And
recommendations.
last but not least,
We can make all the recommendations that we'd like, but this is why there's a commission here, is because the commission is, when they're requesting a variance, people that are property owners in this county have the ability to request a variance
Sure.
on matters such as this.
absolutely.
And are you aware that, furthermore, that this particular request is probably something that we see once a month? And this, whether it's 50 feet, 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, or 10,000 feet, this is something that, especially when you got into rural areas, comes to us quite a bit. Just so you're aware that this is like, it's not an isolated case.
Well, you deal with a lot of them. I suppose you have a rule of thumb that you use. I'm pointing out things in the ordinance which I think you should be paying attention to and perhaps implementing on cases like this in a uniform fashion. Let me make a concluding statement here, because you have other things to do today. On page 16-23 of the ordinance, the zoning ordinance, dealing in the section for variances, this part I think is crucial. I already told you that it starts off with no variance may be approved. You can send me copies of this. No variance may be approved unless the Planning and Zoning Commission makes both the following findings of fact based on evidence presented by the applicant. One, that the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances. The staff of the LUD, Land Use Department, has already told you there's no unique circumstances here. It's a single-family house that should be operated as a residential property, which is what a B1 is, residential, not mechanics residential. B, the variance if granted will not alter the essential character of the locality. Nobody else has a mechanic shop in the back of 4,000 square feet and a fleet of cars that is going to be serviced. It's prohibited on every of the section. But here's the kicker. Paragraph 2, subsection D. The Planning Commission must also weigh and consider the extent to which the following facts must be favorable to the applicant and it is established by the evidence presented by the applicant. D, that the alleged difficulty or hardship was not created by any person presently having an interest in the property. The owners here have admitted they're the reason they want this building. They have a fleet of cars and trucks. How many? I think he counted about 11. 4 pickup trucks, 3 pickup trucks, a sedan, 5 or 6, 7 antique cars. That's not a hardship. That's a self-imposed hardship. And the ordinance says you can't do it. Thank you.
Okay, a couple things. I want to make something clear before you get this out. You said you made a couple of assumptions there about when I mentioned that, do we see these cases here before us all the time?
Yes.
That we have rules of thumb? No, we do not have rules of thumb as a commission. We look at each case individually and to the merits of the case. There's no rules of thumb. And as far as mechanic shop and running a business, that's not to be determined by us sitting at this podium, whether that's taking place or that's not taking place. So I would consider an assumption also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, we have a question that we'd like to ask you.
This package we received, sir,
Yes.
all the neighbors, they approve of the 60 by 60, all except this E1. Who's the owner that's objecting? Are you the realtor also, or?
I am the owner of the E1, building my home there now. And the lots directly west of that E1 is what's known as Hillview Estates. There's 16 lots in it, and 14 lot owners have objected in writing, and that objection has been delivered to the land use. So if you count myself, it's 50.
There were 14 objections delivered to the land use.
Do we have that documented now?
Land use?
Kimberly, is that what was
I
presented
have not
before?
received
Go ahead.
any information from objectors specifically.
Okay, sure, you have that package. Can you bring that package before us so we can take a look at it? I mean, we were getting all this information right before the meeting started. I really didn't have a chance to review it.
And then also you state that you have a Morton building that you erected.
Yes.
What's the size of that then?
It's an on-site. It's like 42 by
Okay. Did you give the staff
50.
42 by 50?
Okay, did you give the staff a copy of this?
I hand delivered it to the land use department.
Do you have a copy of this?
That's my file copy.
Okay, well, did you take your file document? It's within here?
No, we had the Lenox Department, attention of Mr. Paddock, David Du Bois, and Michael Sutton.
Okay. Well, we have a copy of that up here, we'll give it to the staff.
I don't know that you have it here.
No,
Not Mr. Department.
that's his copy. He has delivered it.
On August 19th.
Okay, you have delivered to the staff? Okay.
The staff has it.
We just want to,
There's, David has his hand up, Chairman.
It's, this will
Be
be
part of the public record. It's a correspondence dated August 19th, and it's from Mr. Bradley, and attached are petitions stated to the Will County Board. There's various individuals that are identified in here. Just for the record, it's not necessarily something that's notarized, just on the record. And as well as the fact is that I don't believe we had any phone calls regarding this. Kimberly, have you had any phone calls from the neighbors objecting?
No, I have
So,
not received
okay.
any calls.
So I mean, it is documented here. There are signatures. It's something that Mr. Bradley submitted.
okay, so we do have that to enter into the record. And do we have a copy of this folder here that has people that are in support of the proposal? If not, I'll give it to you so we can have it to enter into the
All right,
record.
I have a question. All of these people who have signed this objection, are they considered adjacent property owners where they indeed got a certification?
No. No, they're just objecting. No, they're objecting as nearby, as I am here, nearby individuals who own properties and have houses. You don't want to see a large warehouse in the back of the property.
Okay, in all fairness, you stated that your building, your Morton building, is an odd size, 42 by 50.
It's a little shy of or a little north of 2,000 square feet. I don't remember the exact footage.
Okay, but you are objecting to the 60 by 60.
Plus the 1,500, plus the 875.
The total.
You know, to be perfectly,
3,000 is the limit.
I realize that, but you can't store anything in a silo, and I'm going to make sure that.
No, I'm
we
not counting,
make
I didn't count the
some-
silo. I didn't count the silo. I counted the garage, the
this
1,500 square foot stone building.
stupid earth thing that is holding up something. It's obvious that it's needed there, but I think our ordinance has to be tweaked some with some of the silos that are left.
I'm not counting the silo.
You're not.
I can't imagine it's useful to get in and out of
No,
with
no.
storage. But the 1,500 square foot storage building that was there when they bought the property in August of 2013, that is used as a storage building. And the 875 square foot two-car attached garage is surely used for
Okay.
storage of something.
All right, yes.
But
Yeah,
can I add one thing that I neglected to add?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In approximately February of this year, while this was accumulating, these vehicles were accumulating, the Petersons erected a fence 7 to 8 feet tall. It starts on their eastern border and progresses westerly across the front yard to the point where you would be real close to the west wall of the earthen 1,500 square foot building. Then it takes a 90-degree turn straight south till it gets to about what would be the south line of the storage building, the 1,500 square feet, or it takes a 90-degree turn to the west and then butts into the building, the home. That structure makes it impossible for anybody to see into the backyard or side yard of their home. And it also violates page 1473 of the zoning ordinance that says fences and walls up to 4 feet in height above natural grade are permitted in the street yard areas of all zoning districts. This one's at least twice that and plus. And we don't like that either, because if we start walling off each other, we might as well be holding off the barbarians.
You did a pretty good job, Mr. Bradley.
Thank you. I haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah.
I'm retired.
Well, it's like
Okay.
riding a bicycle.
Are there any other objectors or concerned citizens? Okay, this time I'd like to,
That's me.
I'd like to give you a chance to respond, if you'd like.
I guess I will start off. As far as our fence is concerned, at 6 feet, I called the county. We did not need a permit, we followed the guidelines. Kimberly has been out. Sorry,
I know
yeah.
this becomes very emotional.
Yeah.
You're being a
Breathe.
typical mom now.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so we're not the kids. Just relax.
Kimberly was out, Brian was out, Tawana was out, they all checked the fence. Everything was good on that end. As you will see included in the packet I gave you guys, started in December, Mr. Bradley had sent us letters. Did not like some of the things, we moved it. Did not like one of my husband's personal vehicles, which there's 2 other people on the road that have it. We sold it to please Mr. Bradley. He wanted to come on the property for a site inspection. I called Will County at that time in June. They informed me he does not work for the county and he does not have to come on your property. So we didn't let him on the property, turned around and he's suing us. And he went around, and I heard this from a lady next to his subdivision. First time I met her, we lived there 2 years. She said, just so you are aware, he went around the entire subdivision, told everybody you guys are trying to rezone and run a commercial trucking business, which is not true. He is by my house, and I have pictures in there of him 2 to 3 times a day taking pictures. I've gone to my mailbox. He's sitting in the lot that he does not own right next to us. So we had to hire a lawyer because he's suing us under false, I guess, lies, whatever you want to say it. Reason being, we need this building. I have my father's 64 Mustang. He left it to me. His 45 International truck. His Dodge Dually he gave to my husband. My son got his newer Dodge pickup truck. And the older vehicles are to be passed down to my kids. I don't want to have to get rid of them. And not only that, I do have some of my father's things because at one time, we had a container box on our property. We didn't know we couldn't have it, and we removed it as soon as we were able to because Mr. Bradley pointed that out. We had no problem following the codes, doing everything we had to. I had a lot of my father's things in that container box, which is now sitting at my sister-in-law's house because we have no room, and I can't put it in that earth garage or it's going to get destroyed. My husband has a Harley motorcycle that's sitting in my mother's garage in town, which eventually she's going to be moving in, like I said, with us because of her health. The list can just keep going on and on and on, but everything is included in there. My other neighbor that is next to, basically the other side towards Chicago Road, she had called me and wanted to know what was going on because she was informed. This property right here, and she also owns all of this. She had informed me that what was going on and said, well, what are you guys doing? And I explained to her, I can show you the paperwork. All we want to do is put a building up to put our things on. Her and her husband have seen, and it's not like we have it scattered through our whole yard. We don't. It's all parked neatly. I mean, Kimberly can probably tell you that. It's not like a junk collector, and my husband is not working on the vehicles. I mean, he likes to play with them. We own 4-wheelers, yes. We want to put our stuff in there. I mean, I apologize, we have too many toys, but I guess that's it, or I keep going. So
Okay,
I just, I'll let my husband, unless.
Okay, thank you.
Short rebuttal.
No, we're not going to have another rebuttal. This is the way it works, is you're giving your piece. I always give the applicants a chance to respond to people that are objectors or concerned citizens. We're not going to just keep coming back and forth up here. We're done. The only thing I ask you is this time is everybody please go back into the audience if you could.
All right, well, I'll talk to staff now. May I, Mr. Chairman? Because this case was continued, would staff please inform me, point it out who was notified of this hearing as an adjacent property? Which properties there were notified? let's clarify this. The case we are discussing is outlined in the red, correct?
Would you like me to go into the whole?
Sure, right.
Go ahead, whatever clarifies it, Kim.
All abutting property owners were notified. We have the notification cards here.
I want to see him up there.
The west, south, east, and north properties.
Okay, the E1. Now, Mr. Bradley is not considered an adjacent property owner?
This is actually Mr. Bradley's property is the flag lot right here. This is not Mr. Bradley's property.
Okay.
That's wrong, I have both those properties.
Both those properties are Mr. Bradley's. The one with E1 that's labeled
Okay.
it's
How
service.
many acres does Mr. Bradley own?
I'm not sure.
Let's say it's 10 acres, because the other, the lot we're talking about is 5 acres. It's 8 to 10 acres, it looks like. Okay. I mean, so,
Okay, well, that answers my question. The adjacent property owners, did they all sign the registered letters that they received?
They wrote letters.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's most important here. But Mr. Bradley is representing a subdivision.
It's down
Yeah,
a quarter mile.
nearby.
Yeah.
It's not adjacent.
I don't know how many people live in that subdivision.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know that for sure. We
There
haven't
was
seen.
nothing.
We haven't
Okay,
seen.
just trying to
Not
clarify
included in
something
staff.
in my own mind. Okay, thanks, Kevin,
Any other
appreciate it.
questions? Do any of the other commissioners have any other questions at this time?
I have one question for David, if I may.
Yes.
When you work as an amateur on cars in your own garage, is that considered in any way not allowed?
It's not a commercial activity, so it's not necessarily prohibited.
That was what I thought.
No, the uses that were identified by Mr. Bradley are listed under commercial uses within the zoning ordinance.
Okay, thank you. At this time, on case 6258-V, I'd like to entertain a motion for the requested variance.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve zoning case 6258-V for variance for maximum accessory building area from 3,000 square feet to 5,928.06 square feet.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Carruthers,
Yes.
Lager,
Yes.
Mitchell. Yes. Peterson votes yes. Stippen.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Chairman Lenvalo.
Yes. Thank you. I do believe we have some paperwork up for you. Up front. Your case did pass. You are approved. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My only regret is what's going to happen next.
Come on, she's got some paperwork for you.
It's a shame, but I don't know what's going to happen next.
Good luck. There you go. Okay, thank you.
This is your.
It's nice. It's like ceramic. It's molded.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
This is your. Oh, these are for you now.
Okay.
No, no, you're done. Get out of the way.
Next. Next case on the agenda, case 6265-V3, Thomas Tavini, owner of record. We have a request for 3 variances. Kathy Kubik from our staff will open up the case.
Thank you, Chairman Blum. Zoning case 6265-V3 takes place in New Lenox Township. The applicant is requesting a variance for lot area from 2.5 acres to 2.33 acres, a variance for lot frontage from 300 feet to 193 feet, the variance for maximum accessory building area from 3,000 square feet to 3,246 square feet.
I'll be honest.
The purpose of this request is to bring the property into compliance and to allow for the construction of a 63 by 42 foot accessory structure for personal storage. Displayed as an aerial view, the property is generally located east of Parker Road and north of Route 6. Photos of the subject property are displayed. The property contains a single-family residence and an existing accessory structure that will be removed upon approval of the variances. Photo 1 is of the subject property, 2 is looking south along South Parker Road, and 3 is looking north along South Parker Road. A site plan for the proposed accessory structure is displayed in red. The proposed structure is 63 feet by 42 feet and will be located in the rear of the property. There is also another structure labeled on the plat of survey that the applicant has stated will be removed if the variances are approved. Displayed is a zoning map. The property is zoned A2 and is located in an area containing A2, R2, and A1 zoning.
I would, like I said, if you could get some little kids in there.
Staff recommends approval of a variance for lot area from 2.5 acres to 2.33 acres. Approval of a variance for lot frontage from 300 feet to 193 feet. And denial of a variance for maximum accessory building area from 3,000 square feet to 3,246 square feet. That concludes staff's analysis.
Thank you, Natalie. Are there any questions of staff? Okay. The applicant is here tonight. Would you like to come down? We do have a staff has recommended approval on 2 of them and denial. You want to speak towards that?
Yes. 200 feet. Jeez.
Please say your name for the records.
Thomas Keaveney.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Oh, that's okay, sir. No, basically, I mean, the barn, or the pole barn is an engineered structure, and that's where the size comes in. I mean, we could make it smaller. It's not that big a problem. You know, but honestly, it's tucked way in the back there, a little bit extra room. You know, I'm not sure what it's going to hurt.
Can you give us the nature of that area? I think I'm familiar with it, but what, all the homes in that area, you typically have any homes that have houses with pole barns, or is it?
Yeah, my neighbor Mark Fitzgerald, who's directly behind me, he has a more building. He has all the old farm structures there. My neighbor directly across the way has a pole barn. He has you know, a little garage.
Are there people up that way with houses or houses with horses?
Not anymore. Mark used to bring his horses there on his property, but he has.
Trying to get the lay in that area.
Yeah, the horse farm is a little bit down from us on Parker Road, but no, there's no horses being boarded there anymore. So,
all right.
So I mean, it is what it is, and that's the reason we just asking for a little bit more room. We've got, you know, almost 2.5 acres there, and I don't think it'll affect any of my neighbors. Don't seem to have an objection to it. So. Okay, thank you very much.
Questions of the applicant from the staff or from the commission? Okay, are there any objectors or concerned citizens on this case? Okay, on case 6265-B3, I'd like to entertain a motion for the first requested variance.
Mr. Chairman, in case 6265-B3.
Mark Fitzgerald. No, that's right. No, he's a bricklayer. He's a mason. Different guy. Different guy.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a second requested variance.
On the same case number, I recommend approval of a variance for lot frontage from 300 feet to 193 feet.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a third requested variance.
Yes, on case 6265-B3, recommend approval of a variance for maximum accessory building area from 3,000 square feet to 3,246 square feet.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Carruthers,
Aye.
Lager,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Peterson votes yes. Tippit,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Chairman Ledden alone.
Yes. Motion carries. We do have some paperwork for you up here on these variances.
No, it's Chairman. I just got there.
Thank you very much, folks.
Next case on the agenda, we have a request for a temporary use permit 2015-12. Natalie from our staff will open up this request.
Thank you, Chairman Malone. Temporary use permit 15-12 is for a fall festival. The applicant informed staff today that he will not be operating the indoor haunted house as stated in the application. This correspondence was provided to you in the memo. All conditions, including those made by the building division, are still applicable to the temporary use permit. The fall festival will include a corn maze, hay rides, carnival rides, refreshments, pig races, pumpkin sales, a zombie hunt, and other related activities. Proposed operation dates for the Fall Festival are from September 3rd, 2015 through October 31st, 2015. The proposed hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. on weekends, only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. A fall festival has been authorized to occur on the subject property 4 previous times as a temporary use. Staff recommends approval of temporary use permit 15-12 with 8 conditions. That concludes staff's analysis.
Do you have any questions to staff? Thank you. Is the applicant here tonight?
Yes.
Can you come down for a second? Please take your name for records.
Mark Tracy.
Mark, I just want to ask you, I know this has been before us 3 or 4 years in a row, and it's been somewhat a success for you. How's it going with the, as far as the festival signs, how are you doing with that every year? Are you better than what you were initially? I know the staff had some questions about that 2 or 3 years ago, but you said you were going to take care of that every year and get them out of there. How's that going?
Yes, I did. Right after the Halloween is over.
Within reason?
Within reason, yeah. We got them within 3 or 4 days. We were completely.
And other than, as far as I could tell, there's really, county doesn't see any problems. Everything runs smooth. The only concern the county really had was the sign thing. So I just thought I'd ask you how that's going. It's going okay?
Everything's fine.
We take your word for it. Okay. You got anything to add?
No, I think it's a nice thing we have going there, and I think it's good for the community.
There you go.
Is it successful?
Well, we are not doing the haunted house because the state fire marshal and the Frankfort Fire Department says that we have to have a sprinkler system put in. So it's not in our budget right now to be able to do that. Hopefully, if we have a good year, we might do it next year. But
Still doing the corn maze and all that?
we're still doing the corn maze. Yes, we're doing everything that we did before.
Again, is it successful? Do you have a lot of people out there? Kids?
Yeah, there was a couple days we had 1,000 people there.
Wow.
So we were kind of, the problem is it's all weather related. So if the weather isn't,
that's true.
if the weather's not good, and the days that, you're doing it are the days that the people aren't at home, then you have a problem. But
If it's 60 degrees on October, Saturday, you like that? 60
Yeah.
degrees is fun.
well, that's what hurt us last year. Halloween was, that whole week was bad. So that was our, that's our big push. Actually, I lost $40,000 last year.
Wow.
Because of that one day. But
Well, good luck.
Yeah, more power
It's-
to
it's,
you. Keep persevering.
I'm trying.
Unless you have anything to add, you can go.
Okay, thank you.
On case, the temporary use permit request 2015-12, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, temporary use permit 2015-12. Make a motion to approve the following conditions and to approve the special use permit with the 8 conditions as listed by staff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman.
We had last couple of months, a couple comments from some of the commissioners on a couple items, and I thought, well, it'd be good to have a work session here, or a workshop. Do we need to open up that workshop? For a vote, or we just talk about it? Okay. All right. A couple of the items on there were. Okay, a couple of the items that we're going to probably talk about. We're not going to be here too long. I just want to get these out so we can all be on the same page with this. I think Bobby made a comment, and we've had some discussion about how the cases are being formatted. Another topic we're going to discuss is the workloads, and third, we're going to discuss about meeting minutes. Bobby, you want to open up about the case, the formatting of the cases?
And it wasn't all the cases, it was just the variance cases were changing. The cover sheet did not give the same information as the special use permits or the A1 cases. So I talked to Kimberly about it and said, you know, why isn't this, the variance cases are as important as all the rest of them? And lo and behold, I found out through Mike that the change was made when Michael and David were responsible for all the cases. So they were just short-circuiting everything. And Kim said, we can go back to exactly what you want. No big deal, it was done. But when there was a skeleton staff to do all the cases, Mike knew that the commission knew exactly what to do with everything because everybody is experienced sitting up here. And I think I was just probably being a little more concerned because I know that the county board members and the public, when everything is laid out, they don't read everything. So it was important to me that the first page be as concise and informative as it has been. Okay. And it was taken care of. 1, 2, 3, it was done.
Okay, a couple things on that point. The cases between the two, as they're written tonight, were alike. A couple things that I did, and my own personal opinion is because I'm running the meeting and this agenda, it's so hard to read that basically I call the cases off the individual cases because I can't read this. It's just too much in a paragraph. So a couple things that I'd like to see happen is that the applicant's name is first, that we used to have that first, because when I call the case, if I have to search down through there 3 or 4 lines, sometimes it was always first. Somehow it got moved down in that application process for the variances. Another thing is it's hit and miss on the county map. Sometimes they're in there, sometimes they're not. I personally like that because it gives me a flavor of where it's coming from, whether it's a rural area of the county or if it's suburban area of the county or if it's etc. I think, and I was talking with Kim today about this today. I guess when they do the aerial views on the maps, that they're in color, but obviously they're printed in black and white. So sometimes I see those maps. It's not critical, but I look at the aerial view and I can't tell which lot it is because I think the lines need to be heavier around those lots. That's just a couple of things that I saw. If they're all formatted the same way, I think it's easier reading for everybody. Okay, because if there's changes from one person who's doing the case and the other person who's doing the case, you know, we're like monkeys. they come down, you know, go down the line. This way I am. I get used to a format, and that format in itself makes it easier for me when we have 12 or 14 cases to go through them in a manner that makes it expeditious on a Monday night. So I'm not sure if anybody else has any other comments about that. Those are mine.
When it seems like we used to get colored pictures and they were highlighted and had red lines and they were a lot easier to use.
Your mic's on.
Okay, a few things. Just to answer your question, Commissioner Mitchell, is that I don't believe we ever hard copied colored maps. We did email them, and we can start emailing the link to the agendas again, in which they can be downloaded. So what we'll do is we'll send the hard copies and the link as well, so that if there's a question, you can go online and actually look online. You can zoom in on the maps as well using the browser. So we'll do that to address that concern.
So I'm short of emailing them. That means that we're going to have to print them out. So you know what? Do I want to start printing out stuff, county stuff on my own printer? I don't really want to myself. I think a heavy line, you know, if the county can't afford to print them out in color because we're printing out 20 of them, then I know it costs, hey, at our place it costs a nickel for a color copy and a half a cent for a black copy. So I'm sure that's the same with the county when you're buying paper from these copier places.
What we'll do is we'll increase the point size or the width of the boundary on the maps.
Yeah.
So when it is printed black and white, we can do that. And then we can also, again, email them so that people can look at them on their tablets or otherwise when they open PDFs. You know, with regard to the cost of that, when we do the color copies of a volume of this nature or to try to reduce costs, those do have to be sent to the county's print shop. And so there's a turnaround time or something like that. To do them internally does burn through our color printers, which we try to the inkjets. So we try to keep the minimum how many color copies are actually printed in the office.
So in a case like tonight, that fellow's lot was so close. I mean, if you can see it up there, but it's hard to see it sometimes in the back. So as long as we can see it better, if you can figure out a way.
Okay, we'll work on that.
Okay.
We'll make sure that the LRPs and the aerial maps are within the staff force consistently. We'll take a look at the agenda. The software system that is utilized for the agenda production is a county-wide software system, primarily with the county board, the agenda. We can see what opportunities there may be to try to rearrange the agenda within the text, within the agenda items, but a lot of the format is already within the software system. It's consistent on different county agendas. So for county-wide, for all the committees, the commissions, and things of that nature.
Well, my one thought on that was, as I'm sitting there, we were having a brainstorm, okay, I'm thinking, well, why don't they just underline the case number on the agenda and underline a variance here and a variance and a special use permit, so we could read right through it that way. But as I look at it now, it's all underlined.
Yeah,
so it's like, you know, everything's underlined, so.
I mean, I'm hearing your concern, and we'll see what we can do within the limitations.
That's just for me. The other commissioners don't really care, because I'm the guy that's going to call. I'm sure they don't do it. It's not a big deal, but I'm just telling you, I can't hardly read this thing.
Yeah, if you have the case number and
They gave us
the
highlighters.
applicant right there, it's easy to go from there.
How hard would it be to type up just one cover sheet for the chairman when he's reading the stuff off to make life or something? I mean, just have the case number, the client or the name, and then the variance or. I don't think that would take long either.
But whatever makes it, you know what? I get by with that. I'm just telling you, I can't read this thing. I'm just telling you.
I understand.
Yes, see,
I said I understand.
And I can see why the county people say, oh, the county board don't read. They don't read it.
No.
Well, I understand
but they
why.
never did.
I understand why, because you know what? I wouldn't read it either.
No, but this is a software that has been shoved on everybody to make do. Because I complained at the very beginning, and Dawn said our hands are tied. This is what they gave us to work with.
Wow.
But if there is something, even if it means
only underline the name of the person, the case, and one variance, second, underline those key words. I think that would make it easier for everyone.
Would it be okay if I highlight your copy?
Yes, Dawn, do that,
Because
please.
the
Well, whatever.
I do it myself, but Judy.
But one of us will do it for you, Dan.
You know, I started doing it, but you know what, my yellow marker ran out, the county wasn't, their budget won't buy me
Oh,
another.
here, I'll give you a couple.
Okay.
How the program is, it's all
Here, listen to Dawn.
how the program works, it's all formatted in this paragraph for each case, whether it is a variance, special use map amendment, or a temporary use. So that not only are you seeing this, but all of the committee members are seeing it.
That would mean land use too.
Land use and county board.
board.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, then we'll come back here and slam us down about
So
that.
that-
No, just do what you gotta do.
Don't worry, I'll fight.
That was just a comment, I didn't say you had to change it, but these other, I think when we got on the case, it's just these minor things, just so we got a little continuity, and then, so is there any other comments about that? About the formatting?
No, because I complained at the very beginning, and Dawn said our hands are tied, and this is the software. And I really still am not a computer person, but I've been forced to use one, so.
No, those IT guys sometimes get lazy. Okay, the next subject was brought up about workloads. And we understand that you can't control how the cases come in, but we had a couple commissioners say to me, you know, we start getting late at night, and you know, first off, you got to read them the night before, which is okay. That's our duty. But then you start getting some of these cases where we could have 8 variances, and they can slide right through here. We have one special use permit. It's here for 3 hours. So what? I guess sometimes there was some talk about how there's an uneven allotment or a cutoff point to say maybe we do need a second meeting. I don't know if anybody else wants to speak on this, but you know, this is something I think that was brought up to me.
Len, we agreed to a second meeting when the cases got hot and heavy. And they have to call me. So you can bash me around. And with some of these variances, I'll say, that looks good. You know, go ahead, put it on. And of course, I'm always concerned about contractors and homeowners trying to get buildings up and things like that.
Well, the thing about that is, and believe me, it's really not bad coming once a month, but once in a while, there's been a few times we've had over 10, and within that 10, we had a couple of them that were 1.5-hour cases that we were here in excess of 10 o'clock at night, and I think that's a bit much asking,
yes, it is.
asking ladies, and,
yeah.
and sometimes you don't know whether there's going to be a whole crowd out there.
No, we have
what
no
I'm saying is I think we ought to look at, I don't know if we should look at a number. I don't know if Kim has anything to say about this, but
Kim and I were talking before this, and we talked about some sort of a point system. You know, if you're looking at cases, you got 4 or 5 denials listed, you know there's going to be people showing up, or they're going to want to talk a whole lot more. They're going to, absolutely, or if you know there's a hot button case where you're getting all kinds of activity, then don't schedule 12 other cases that night. You know, like the TJ Lambert property, or some of them where you get people lined up, or the mosque, you know, the Ramadan Center where, you know, the room's full of people. Maybe not having 12 cases that night probably isn't a good idea.
And the other thing I try to do on those particular cases, believe me, everybody wants to get out of here, right? They want their case first. But if we got 6 variances that are going to be like boom, 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 that usually will get an approval, and we got a couple stickler cases, I don't care when they came into the county, they should be moved to the back of the agenda.
Yes, yeah, and that's your prerogative too.
Well, I have done it, and people, and then they start complaining out there about it. But you know what?
Don't worry about it.
Well, I understand. Go ahead, David.
My recommendation on this be to continue working with Secretary Peterson with regard to scheduling. And I agree that if we see something like, you know, the land right property or another, that perhaps that would be flagged as maybe even for a special meeting if we know that it's going to be really
That's a good idea.
But keep in mind is that, you know, we're trying to maintain efficiency. We really are. And if that means being here a little bit longer in the evening to accommodate applicants, that's our primary goal. Going to a second meeting in the month can sometimes delay an individual. It requires county board approval. of 30 days. And that 30 days sometimes can be really important to their timeline and their scheduling. And especially if it's just a homeowner who has a project, a shed or something they want to do. So we try our best to really maintain this efficiency and within reason, try to get as much done as we can. It's the primary thing. But also keep in mind that every extra meeting that is scheduled, it costs the county money. If you were to schedule, and again, I'm sorry, if there were 12 extra meetings a year, and I'm not saying that's what you guys are proposing, but you know, if you include per diem and mileage, just an extra $8,400 expense to the county a year. It's 192 staff hours if you have 4 of us present from the department. It's 48 hours of state's attorney's office staff.
Okay, what would happen then, Dave, if we didn't have a drop-off, if there wasn't a drop-off 4 or 5 years ago or 3 years ago, okay, what if there wasn't that drop-off and we still had 16 cases coming in a month? What are we going to say about efficiencies then? All I'm telling you is this, is that we have to look at the work caseload. We're not saying that we want 2 meetings a month. What we have to look at is we have to be judicious about it. We also have to look at is, hey, if we were running 4 or 5 or 6, 7 cases a month, or a meeting, and running 2 meetings a month, which would take us to 8:30 or 9 o'clock, okay? All I'm saying to you is, yes, there's something to be said for efficiencies, and the commission said, yes, we will have 1 meeting a month. But all we said was, included in that was, hey, you know what, once in a while we need a second meeting because it's just too much. And you know what, we have to really take a close look at that because you know what, I don't want to see, you know, going out late at night when nobody's in the parking lot, okay, and it's dark out and it's cold and somebody's car doesn't start. Those are all on the counter of that. But I understand the efficiencies of the county. But on the other hand, the efficiencies of the county is that I've been on this commission since 2004, okay? And I'm not saying I do this for the money, but our per diem has stayed the same since then. And you know what, it's probably been a lot longer than that. And you know what, every once in a while somebody brings that up, and they don't, but everybody turns a deaf ear to it, okay? This is not a job for us people. We're citizens of Will County doing something good for the county. But there is time involved with it. Not only is just time being here that it takes me, that I leave at 5:30 and get home at 10 o'clock, but there's also the night before too. So, you know, as far as efficiencies and saving county money, I think the commissioners don't say every year, hey, we want a $25 raise, but it's going to end up going to the board. But what I'm saying is that it's been a long time since the commission has got any kind of per diem adjustment. So as far as being efficiencies, I think that this commission has been efficient.
Since they've had any adjustment too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it was since 2004 there has been. I'm not arguing that point. They have a job. This is a commission that's paid per diem.
Are other commissions paid the same?
I can't speak to other commissions. I don't know.
Go ahead. Nick. If you're going to yell at me, I'm not going to turn it on.
She wouldn't dare yell at you.
I'm not sure if this is an option, but perhaps if we want to do 2 meetings, we reserve the second meeting of the month that's later in the month and not good timing with the Land Use Committee and County Board. If we do all variances at the second meeting in the month and all map amendments and special use at the first meeting of the month. So that is, because those are the only cases going to Land Use and County Board. So they should have precedence to go in the beginning of the month.
Right.
Whereas variances are only heard by you.
Okay, well, that's a good point. The thing about that is this, we're not advocating for 2 meetings a month. But if you get that caseload like that, then maybe that's what we could, you know, some of those variances.
We can always just move to 2 meetings and just always do it like that. So it never becomes a problem.
We're not up here trying to say we want 2 meetings.
No.
Believe me, I don't want to be down here 2 nights till 9 o'clock. But
No.
I think the point is, all of us got jobs the next day. I get up between 5 and 6 o'clock every day. I do not want to be here till 10, 10:30. Then I got to drive home. I live by myself. I got animals waiting on me. I got to take care of them. It's 11, 12 o'clock before I go to bed, and the alarm goes off at 5. I'm just saying, I don't stay here past 9 o'clock, and I know Len gets tired of me saying that. I'm leaving. I go to bed at 10:30.
Well, I don't mind getting.
I don't care what else is going on.
I'm not tired of you saying that. I just want, sometimes let's get it over with. But then, like to your point, and to your point also, you know what? If we got cases that have to make it to the next committee for that month, those should have priority. If we got 12 or 14, I mean, you say, well, 12 or 14, well, there's been nights there's been excess of 10, multiple times this year. We should take a look at, you know what, some of the commissioners can't make it. Scott, certain times a year, he can't make it, especially if we're doing a second meeting on it. I'm not a proponent of it. Once a month is nice, but I think we should really take a serious look at being judicious about this for the expense of being efficient and also being easier on the commission.
If it turns out that we have to have a second meeting, I think your idea was perfect.
Yes. Yeah, very good.
So did you take all that?
Yeah, here,
Okay.
very short.
Okay, is there anything else on that? Okay. The other thing is, and this is something and Dawn, you do a great job in a minute, but I just think that sometimes I see some of the commissioners sometimes ask questions that aren't included in there. And I think as a commission, if someone reads the minutes and says, hey, don't think, what are the commissioners just sitting there not asking the questions that they should? I think once in a while, if someone asks a question that's important, I think that should be included in the minutes. I'm not sure anybody else feels, but when I see minutes that are just include staff and sometimes me, I think that other people have valid questions that should go into the record, especially if they're commissioners. That's why they're here, because every one of us is representing a portion of the county. I don't know Shanahan Township or I don't know Frankfort Township like Hugh does. So when he asks a question in case regarding Frankfort Township, I think it should go into the record.
You want to tell them? Tell them.
Again, we have our new system, Minitrack, for the meetings, and we are instructed to be very streamlined in what we put down for who said what.
Yeah.
Pat, who does
and she doesn't do the minutes.
Pat, who does do the meetings, I think she does a good job. All the meetings are recorded so that if someone does have a question and they read the minutes and they remember Mr. Stippen asking a question and it's not actually listed, they could most certainly hear the recording.
Okay, I still don't agree with that. I think the minutes is what somebody's going to look at, and I think that my personal opinion is that when it gets down to someone reading the minutes, they could read the minutes for the last 2 years and they're like, did anybody even show up? Don't really ask the question. I think there's critical questions that need to be on there.
If the case ends up in front of a judge, he wants to see the minutes. He doesn't ask for a recording.
That's where you're glad your name isn't in the minutes.
Okay, Phil, do you want?
So, can you comment on that?
The minutes are the official record. That's why you have to approve it. The dates are really meaningless.
So if we come to approving it, and if we say I don't approve it because she asked a question, why,
Well, no, you could say, instead of approving the minutes, you can say I want to amend the minutes by adding this to it. You always have that right.
Well, we understand that.
Okay.
You know what, why should we even get to that point? If someone's asking a question that needs to be put in the minutes, I think it should, regardless of the software or streamlining, you can streamline a question to within 2 sentences and even the answer. I think that's my opinion. If we have to go through that process, I guess we would, but I think it's up front saying, you know what, Hugh knows, he knew where that house was over there in Frankfort. You know what, if he knew that property, he could ask a question about, hey.
I knew where the house was in Lenox, I knew where the...
Exactly. What I'm saying, you may ask a specific question that needs to be put into the record because maybe that had a chance that house flooded 25 years ago and that whole area is underwater. You may know that.
I do.
And speaking on Pat's behalf, I think she does a really good job of putting what you're saying down. If you have something in particular, you could give to me that she didn't, and I could check it out.
Well, the only thing, you know what? Pat, a few years back, we were sitting here with, because of budget cuts, we were sitting here with that microphone, and you know what? The minutes were like 49 pages long, okay? And it was like, what? This is like, who wants to read this? But then we went the other way, and it's so streamlined that I think important things that should be in there should, and I just think that maybe if she's reading the minutes and like Commissioner Mike over here asked a question about Joliet, who knows Joliet like the back of his hand, I think it should be at least in there in some kind of streamlined version. We don't want to kill the trees, but I think it's important.
If you look at the minutes that were presented, each topic did have at least 5 to 6 lines of what actually went on. If you want more, you're saying you want
every single thing that is
I don't
said.
say, when there's important questions to be asked by a certain commissioner of an area, I think it should be included that he asks that question.
And I agree.
I'm not saying we have to, everything that comes to me, there's a lot of
I
babble.
agree, and I think Pat does pull that out of it because she's very concise in what she does.
Okay.
So,
Well, I don't know if you need the whole question in there, you could just say Michael Carruthers
right.
question.
And if you do pick something out that you feel that she missed, as Mr. Mock did say, by all means, you could.
Well, you know what, you know these cases as well as any of us in this room, okay? If Kim asks a question you think should be in there, you know, you're writing it down there, or I don't know.
No, it's.
Oh, it's just recorded?
Yeah, see it?
Oh, okay.
See it there, everything's
But,
recorded.
you know, like in this, page 3, Mr. Mike Smetana read condition number 8 as follows. And it's as follows, the whole condition. So, as I'm saying, in my opinion, I think Pat does pull things out.
Yeah, but she'll pull out the staff. I very rarely, you know, other than me, and who wants to hear me, okay?
Well,
sometimes other people say things that are important that need to be put in the record, that's all I'm
Mr.
saying.
Guzman said he is a general contractor. Then there's 7 lines what Mr. Guzman said.
Yes, David.
We'll talk amongst ourselves to see what we can do to, again, look if there's any opportunities to change this. But we also have to keep in mind is that what we may pick out and think may be important may not be necessarily what some of the commissioners think is important.
And I don't think that everybody, and every commissioner sitting up here would agree with Mr. Malone on that it needs to be included. I don't necessarily want my comments in there. I don't want to be questioned on them later. I prefer them concise and short, and I don't want to get called in, as Mr. Mock. I don't want to get called into a court case.
The only thing about that is on 15 or 20 years that I've been on boards, you know what, I have my name and other people's name on there. Once in a blue, believe me, all I'm saying to you is this, we're commissioners that have a right to speak, and if they ask questions, I think if they're pertinent, they should be included.
You know,
We'll see what we can do, but just please understand what we may identify as being important or not may not be consistent. So that takes into account what Dawn said. If anybody thinks it wasn't something in there, let us know.
Okay, but nothing, but it can't be the other way either, where nothing is in there either. So just bear in mind that. You can review it, and I'm saying there's some cases where we had the gas station up here. I'm telling you what, there was a lot of questions going on, and there was nothing about what what was said. And I just think once in a while it needs to be in there because that's why they're all appointed here to have a vote. Okay, and everybody has a vote, and everybody has a comment, and everybody has a question. And I think that to be excluded from the minutes is not something that was the intent of this board.
Len, I want you to know that I have gone over these minutes for years because I thought they should be more, and I even talked to Mary Tatro, and she said more is not necessarily the best thing.
That's my point. I said there were times there for a while there that they were like there were 59 pages long, and it was way too much. Commissioner Malone bumped the microphone or whatever. It was just too much. I'm just saying is I think we just take a second.
Okay.
Okay.
Work with Pat a little
I'd like
bit.
to make a minor point.
Here.
Not about our minutes at all, but just something in the last case. The last case, the gentleman stated that the Frankfort Fire Department and the state fire marshal said that he had to sprinkle the building.
Yeah.
The county is not enforcing sprinkling buildings. So we're in the county, and now he's got other agencies that that are trying to alter what we should have done or perceived. I never said a word to him. I don't intend to say a word to him. But just what I'm saying is, some of this gets to be very confusing when other agencies try to throw their spin into our county zoning, and they don't come before the county and try to do it.
Who has the final say?
The county does.
Well, we need their approval.
I was going to say, they have to be part of the fire district.
Fire districts have already been told by the county, in effect, if you want to enforce sprinklers, then you go to court and enforce them. and they don't intend to do that.
The fire districts enforce their own ordinances in that area. And you know, I don't know the particulars of Mr. Tracy's application and have the involvement of the state fire marshal. But at the end of the day, it's his choice as to what he wants to do.
Business decision to be
Yeah.
made.
Well, I think, I'm sure that he decided this is a commercial venture, I'm not gonna do anything to delay it because it's time sensitive for October. So, I understand his viewpoint, but what I'm saying is, this is another case that's come up just recently, where an outside agency has kind of bollocks the counties.
Okay, is there any other comments? Staff any announcements? This time I entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Second motion, have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting closed. Thank you.